Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Storms. Welcome to Wealth in the Word, brought to you by pureflix.com. Tonight, my co-host, as always, is Bob Katz. Bob's going to be covering some important things today. And with his 40 years of experience as a CPA, he's also written two best-selling Christian financial books that talk about stewardship and what Scripture has to say about our money and possessions. So, Bob, how you doing tonight? Great to see you.
Great to see you, Mike. I'm doing well. And you, I hope?
Doing great.
Great. Well, Mike, I like to start out with a prayer. Why don't we open up this show with a prayer? And Lord, we come to you today. It's not about what I know. It's not about what Mike knows. It's about you speaking through us to our audience. So we ask that you give us all your godly wisdom, your guidance in this topic, and that you give us ears to hear, and that this show is a blessing. In Jesus' name. So Mike, tell us about the topic tonight.
Well, tonight, Bob, we're going to be talking about identity theft. You know, around the holidays when people are using their credit cards a lot, they're online a lot. The scammers are in full effect, trying to lift people's credit card numbers, social security numbers. And, you know, what kind of things happen on identity theft that wreck people's personal finances and just cause them a tremendous amount of stress and hassle?
Mike, it's not a new topic. We can look back in the Old Testament and see Jacob, when he deceived Isaac, was the first recorded case of identity theft. What has happened is that we have an internet now that has made it rampant epidemic, if you will. 2 years ago, in this country alone, we had $15 billion worth of identity theft. Now, in 2017, they think 17 million people are going to be affected one way or the other by identity theft. That's up 2 million over last year, and it is spiking. It has become an extremely serious problem.
So, Bob, can you define for us what exactly is identity theft?
Well, sure. In its simplest form, Mike, someone is taking all or part of your personal information and using it to represent themselves as you to commit a crime. Could be a big crime, could be a little crime, but someone is out there saying, I'm someone else in order to do something wrong.
So someone's taking your name, your social security number, and opening a credit card or bank account using your name, but it's not you.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's even more serious because we're, hardly a week goes by that you don't hear about a big hack into a corporation where they steal tens of millions of people's names and pertinent identification information. So it is, as I said, becoming a very serious problem. There's several types of identity theft, and I think, people are familiar with the more common ones, but there's some that we need to think about and discuss tonight that maybe our viewers haven't thought about.
Okay, what kind of other things besides a credit card or a banking account or something like that? What other things get stolen and what are they used for in identity?
No, Mike, let's talk about the most common two first. The first one is income tax return / earning wages. That's actually 45% of all identity theft. I know when I was practicing as a CPA, it wasn't uncommon to have a client come in and say, look, the IRS is asking me about a tax return I filed or a refund I just got, and it's not me. So people are getting a hold of people's social security numbers and routinely filing fraudulent tax returns. They're doing the same thing with work-related information. Get a hold of your social security number, go get a job in your name and earn income in your name because they probably have such a bad background that they couldn't do it in their own name. And then all of a sudden you start getting W-2s or you start getting inquiries about this particular job. It's the most common type, followed by just financial identity theft. And this is where somebody hacks into your credit card or your bank account and just steals from you. I had a case, me personally, where I'd had a checking account for 30 years and everything was set up. My income flowed into it. I had automatic payments coming out of it. It was 30 years worth of transactions. And somebody got a hold of my account number, printed fake checks, and started running them through. And the bank covered it. but it was a gigantic mess for me. And I had to open up a new account and change all these transfers in and out. It was a serious problem.
Well, Bob, as you know, because we're such close friends, that, my dad, when he was in a nursing home, the last year of his life, one of the people in and out of the nursing home lifted his social security number, filed a tax return, actually lifted his tax return check. And then when we filed the return a few months later, it got kicked in the fraud department. And my dad since has passed away. And we've been trying to get that return from the IRS for 4+ years. So, there's just all kinds of ways people can go ahead and take your number, tax return, W-2, social security number, credit card numbers, banking numbers, and hack your emails and just take all of those things and make your life real difficult and cause you all kinds of trouble, mess up your credit rating.
Here's some other things maybe our viewers aren't thinking about. Medical identity theft, where someone gets a hold of your medical information and goes and presents themselves to a doctor or a hospital as you, gets treatment, and then the bills get sent to you and you have no idea what's going on. Child identity theft. Think about it. When we have young children, it's years before they start having financial transactions. If someone gets a hold of that child's name and birth date and social security number, they can create this other life in your child's name that can go on for several years. And then when your child starts to need access to finance, to checking accounts and savings accounts, now he's got a huge mess because somebody else has been living his life for years. Driver's license identity theft, where someone gets your driver's license and goes out and has an accident or lots of tickets, and you get something in the mail indicating that it's you and you don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then the worst is criminal identity theft, where someone actually sets out to get your identity to create a very serious crime. And again, you have no idea until it comes knocking at your door. So it is, as I said, a very systemic problem.
Right. And with the advent of everything being electronic, during the holiday season, people need to be extra cautious with their information from their driver's license number to their credit card number because it spikes during the holidays. So it's a rapidly growing crime that yes, all of us, regardless of our age or income, really need to pay attention to some things. So it causes a tremendous amount of heartache and years and hassles of dealing with it.
Yeah. And people will say, oh, it's a victimless crime. The bank makes good on my bad checks that somebody else wrote, or the credit card companies don't charge me. That's a real fallacy. There's no such thing as a victimless crime. The credit card companies, the banks, this is a cost of doing business. One way or the other, it gets passed on to us, maybe not directly, but certainly indirectly. And think about the other ramifications, what it does to your credit. Everybody's so worried about their credit score. Well, now accounts are being opened in their name. They're being paid late. Much more higher percentage of their credit's being used. They don't even know it. So all of a sudden their credit score is destroyed, and they don't even know until they need some legitimate credit. Or what if these people have, what if there's arrests under your name and you're trying to get a new job, or you're trying to get rent an apartment? They do background checks, and all these arrests pop up. It could take years to try and straighten this mess out. So there's a huge price to pay for the innocent victim.
So Bob, how can we prevent this, and what can we do if we've already been a victim of identity theft in all these situations? Give us the short list of the ways that we can equip the viewers. And please ask specific questions, viewers, if you have something you're dealing with, and Bob and I would be happy to answer it. But Bob, let's give them the short list of things they should look out for, particularly in this holiday season, to prevent it. And if it's happened, what they can do.
Well, Mike, I always give people 5 points. Let's talk about prevention first. You've got to lock down your social security number, driver's license. That's primary information. Almost all identity theft starts with someone getting a hold of your driver's license number and or your social security number. Secondary information is address, date of birth, phone numbers. what else, whatever it takes to sort of complete a profile on you. That information, you have to guard it like you do cash or jewelry or anything else that's extremely valuable. It needs to be locked down more seriously than I think people have locked it down in the past. Pay attention to something that doesn't seem to be ordinary. Be skeptical. The IRS is not going to call you up and ask you for personal information. They're not going to email you and ask you for personal information. These phishing scams where people try and get your personal information over the internet are very sophisticated. I will get emails that look exactly like they're coming from my bank, but what they're asking for just doesn't make sense to me. So I always call and follow up. So start to develop a very skeptical mind when you're dealing with strangers and they're asking for information that could become part of an identity theft.
Well, I think, Bob, one of the things that you and I teach everybody all the time is if you get an email or a phone call, ask the people for their employee number, their phone number, verify them. And I won't even answer any questions. What I'll do to make sure I only give it to a legitimate source is I will then go look at my bank statement or my credit card statement and call the number on there, not the number in the email, the number they give me, to make sure I'm getting the real person. So it does take another step or two to make sure that we are protecting ourselves and protecting our families and our future by verifying that we have a real person. And like we tell people all the time, the IRS and the bank isn't going to call you and demand anything. You're going to get a letter in the mail. It's going to be very formal. There'll be multi-steps. So don't fall for that quick phone call. Give me your credit card number over the phone, or that email where they're fishing just to get a quick chunk of money from you.
Yeah, I'll give you another tip. This is the number 3. This is my millennial tip. Be very careful when you're on public Wi-Fi. I know you young people love to go to Starbucks and use free Wi-Fi, or in the airport and use free Wi-Fi. Listen, anybody can hack into your Wi-Fi. So please do not transact any business whatsoever on a free or public Wi-Fi. Use complex, this is a simple one. Use complex passwords and change them periodically, because that's another thing. Once someone gets hold of a password, they will lock you out by changing it. They'll go into your account, change the password, you're now locked out, and they'll wreak havoc in your account. And then, listen, I'm not a salesman for LifeLock, but I do think you need a credit monitoring service. Now, there's a lot of good ones now offered by a lot of companies, but credit monitoring, as long as you understand what it does and what it doesn't do, it's something I think that's an imperative these days.
Well, something that you and I spoke about was the double authentication, more than just a password for your critical things, whether it's your investment account, your bank account, your email, so it doesn't get hacked, that you have a password, and then use some type of like a Google Authenticator to have a number sequence that also has to be entered in that's set in your phone. And again, these are apps and stuff, and I'm not super tech savvy. I got to get help from my son to do that kind of stuff. But protecting things with just one extra step, making a phone call or getting another double password.
Yeah, let me one final thought on the LifeLocks of the world, because I read a lot of criticism. It's important to understand the LifeLocks and credit services. The service they provide is anybody that's trying to open an account in your name and social security number, or take out a loan or do anything. It gets into a central file and they monitor it, and they will immediately ask you, is this you? Are you opening up this account? I use LifeLock. I'm very satisfied with it. And I'll be in a store and I'll maybe opening up a new charge account. And then immediately I'll get a text from LifeLock. Is this you? Now, what they don't do is monitor your credit card. So if someone's got a hold of your credit card and they're out there spending on your credit card, that's not what these services do. So don't get angry at the service. It was never intended to do that. Most credit card companies have very sophisticated monitoring. They'll contact you. And as we said earlier, you're not responsible for fraudulent charges anyway. But I strongly suggest a credit service like LifeLock or several other good ones.
All right, so Bob, those are great tips. Now, what do we do? It's too late. We've already been victimized.
Yeah.
We're up to our neck in difficulty and hassles with identity theft. What are the steps? What can we do to rectify that?
First of all, don't panic, but do take action. Take immediate and firm action. If you have a credit service like LifeLock, they will help you. They'll notify all kinds of people on your behalf and help you to straighten out the mess. Don't panic. Go to the credit card company or the bank, because that's usually where the identity theft comes from. Tell them, what's happening, what you did, what you didn't do. They'll help you close down that account, open up a new account. And if it's really severe, then I suggest you call the FTC and open up what's called an identity theft report. This does a couple of things. It goes out to all the credit unions, but it also, you're now covered by the Fraud Victims Bill of Rights. A lot of times, it depends on the severity, but if it's severe identity theft, then by all means report this to the FTC. Contact the companies affected, like we said, then go to secondary companies that weren't affected, but probably will be. Report it to a credit agency. If there's 3 of them, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You only need to report it to one, and then it's their responsibility to report it to the other 2. If it's a wage or a tax fraud issue, then you absolutely go to the IRS. There's a form you fill out for identity theft. Fill out that form. Go to Social Security Administration. Again, they'll help you. They'll mark your account. They'll open up a new account for you. But go to these two. These 2 agencies have dealt with this. I find that they're very cooperative and friendly. And if need be, contact law enforcement.
Bob, thanks. It's a rough thing, identity theft. We all have loved ones it's happened to, and small or big cases we've heard about. And just remember, everybody that's watching tonight, you can never be too skeptical. Be smart when it comes to protecting the things. Be vigilant and be wise with your driver's license number, social security number, your banking information, and just be smart. You can avoid a lot of this.
Yeah, and Mike, the thing I tell clients all the time is there's something that I call the smell test. If it doesn't smell right when you're reading it on the internet, when they're talking to you on the telephone, somebody's trying. If you've got a check in your spirit, and many times, well, God, you'll feel a check in your spirit. Don't override that. If it doesn't pass the smell test, back off, get more information, and do not go forward until you're absolutely sure this transaction is legitimate.
And we really would love to hear from you guys. As always, your questions and chiming in, letting us know you're watching really mean a lot to us. And right now, I'd like to speak specifically to the Pure Flix, the customers and or the people on trial. You can go in the comments below and click on the link and download a free chapter of Bob's book, Money Came by the House, the other day. So please go in there. Tons of wisdom in the book. It's one of the books that I hand out to people when I'm counseling them because it really gets them a solid foundation. And on behalf of Pure Flix, me and Bob Katz and Wealth in the Word, thanks so much for watching. Look forward to your comments, and make sure you go get that free chapter of that book. And we'll see you guys next time on Wealth in the World. Have a good night. Thanks, Bob.
Good night, Mike.